I didn't say a word when my mother called me a mistake. Not in private, not gently, not even with shame. She said it across the dinner table, right in front of the man I was about to marry. "Tell him the truth, Elena," she said, sipping her wine like she was discussing the weather. "Or should I?" My fiancé, Marcus, looked at me, confused, steady, waiting. And my father? He didn't even look surprised. He just leaned back in his chair and dropped the bomb like it was overdue. She had a baby at 18, got pregnant, tried to pin it on some guy, and when it didn't work, she gave the kid away. Silence. The kind that doesn't just sit in the room, it presses on your chest. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Marcus didn't speak, didn't react, didn't move, and that terrified me more than anything they said. My mother leaned closer to him, lowering her voice like she was doing him a favor. "You don't want to get trapped the same way, sweetheart." Sweetheart. God, she always did that, wrapped poison in sugar. I sat there, frozen, hands in my lap, nails digging into my skin. I didn't defend myself. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe properly. Because what they didn't know, what they had no idea about, was that Marcus already knew everything. And not just that, he'd spent the last 6 months quietly, patiently, putting my entire life back together, piece by piece, including the part they buried, including her. And in exactly 12 days, the truth they tried to erase for 8 years was walking straight into our lives. Before I go any further, if this story is already hitting you somewhere deep, just pause for a second. Drop where you're listening from, your city, your time. I always wonder who's out there feeling this with me. Because this story, it's not just mine. It's about control, loss, truth, and what happens when love refuses to stay buried. My name is Elena Rivera. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how my parents tried to erase my past, and how the one person they took from me came back and changed everything. 3 years before that dinner, I saw Marcus again for the first time in almost a decade. Children's Hospital, 4th floor. I was halfway through a double shift running on caffeine and autopilot. A doctor walked in with a guy in a blazer talking about expansion plans. I barely looked up until he turned, and my entire world just stopped. Same eyes, same quiet intensity, just older, sharper, like life had carved him into something stronger. "Elena?" he said, like he wasn't sure I was real. I couldn't speak. 8 years. 8 years of silence, confusion, heartbreak, and suddenly he was just standing there, like no time had passed, like everything we lost didn't matter. The doctor kept talking. Neither of us heard a word. We got coffee that day. Well, we ordered coffee. Neither of us drank it. 3 hours. That's how long we sat there, catching up, filling gaps, avoiding the one question that mattered most. "Why did you leave?" He finally asked it. Soft, not angry, just tired. And that hurt more than anything. So I told him. Not everything, not yet, but enough. I told him my parents forced us apart, that they cut him out of my life, that I didn't have a choice. And then I told him about the baby. I expected anger, shock, distance. Instead, he just leaned back, stared at me, and whispered, "You went through that alone?" That was the moment. Right there. When I realized he never stopped caring. Not really. We started slow after that. Careful. Like both of us were afraid if we moved too fast, everything would shatter again. But love, it doesn't really disappear. It waits. And when it comes back, it hits harder, deeper, realer. By the end of that year, we were inseparable. And for the first time in my life, I felt safe. Then came the proposal. December. Cold as hell. Boston skyline glowing like something out of a movie. Marcus had set up candles in glass jars on his rooftop. Messy, uneven, exactly the kind of thing I'd tease him about and secretly love. He got down on one knee and said, "I already lost years with you. I'm not losing another day." I didn't even let him finish. Yes! Ugly crying, laughing, whole mess. The ring? Vintage. His grandmother's. He told me once she was the only person who truly understood him. Now she's part of us, he said. I should have known. Something that beautiful wouldn't stay untouched. We planned everything fast. Spring wedding, simple, elegant, nothing over the top. Just us. That was my first mistake, because nothing involving my parents was ever just simple. My mom called the next day. "White roses?" she said. "Really, Elena? That's what you're going with?" I stared at my phone. "They're classic," I said. "They're basic," she snapped. "What will people think?" There it was. Always about people. Never about me. Never about what I wanted. Marcus's family? Complete opposite. His mom hugged me like I already belonged. His dad clapped him on the shoulder like he'd won something. His sister literally whispered, "He's been lost without you." And I believed her, because I had been too. But while everything looked perfect on the outside, something underneath was starting to shift. And I felt it, like a storm building somewhere I couldn't see yet. Then, one afternoon, my best friend pulled me aside at work. "Your mom's asking questions," she said. "What kind of questions?" Her face changed. "About your past." My stomach dropped. "About the baby." I laughed it off. Tried to. That's impossible. She sounded like she already knew something, she said quietly. And just like that, the past I buried started clawing its way back. 2 days later, my mom called. "We need to have dinner," she said. Not asked, said. "And bring Marcus." That's when I knew. This wasn't dinner. This was war. And I walked straight into it, not knowing everything was about to explode. Dinner was set for Saturday. 6 p.m., my parents' house. Same place where everything fell apart 8 years ago. Same walls, same silence, same control. Marcus picked me up that evening, and I swear, the entire ride there, my chest felt tight, like I already knew how this was going to go. "You good?" he asked, glancing over. I nodded. Lie. Big lie. But I wasn't scared of them anymore, not the way I used to be, because this time, I wasn't alone. We pulled up at exactly 5:58. My mom hates when people are late, loves when she has control. The house looked exactly the same. Perfect lawn, lights warm in every window, like nothing ugly had ever happened inside. She opened the door before we even knocked, smiled too wide, too rehearsed. "Marcus," she said sweetly, like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. "So good to finally really meet you." Translation: "Let me see what kind of man you are. Let me see how easy it'll be to break you." Dinner started normal, too normal. Small talk, work, wedding plans. Marcus handled it like a pro, calm, polite, respectful. My dad barely spoke, just watched, studied, waiting, and I knew they weren't going to wait long. It hit halfway through dinner. No warning, no build-up, just like that. My dad set his fork down, looked Marcus dead in the eye. "There's something you need to know about Elena." Boom. There it was. My heartbeat spiked. But Marcus didn't even flinch, didn't look at me, didn't panic, just leaned back slightly and said, "I already know." That threw them. You could see it. My mom blinked fast. My dad's jaw tightened. "Oh," he said, "how much do you know?" "Enough," Marcus replied calmly. I kept my eyes down because I knew what was coming next, and it was going to get ugly. "She had a baby," my mother said sharply. There was no softness now, no fake sweetness, just venom. "At 18. Marcus nodded. "I know." "She gave it away," my dad added. "I know." "She doesn't even know who the father is." That one landed hard, even though it was a lie, even though I knew it wasn't true. Hearing it out loud still cut deep. I finally looked up. "Stop." But my mom cut me off instantly. "No, you've lied long enough." Then she turned to Marcus. "You deserve to know the kind of woman you're marrying." And that's when something shifted. Not in me, in him. Marcus leaned forward, calm, controlled, but his eyes, ice cold. "I do know," he said quietly, "and the only people lying right now." He paused, looked directly at both of them. "Are you." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Dangerous. My dad let out a short laugh. "Careful, son." "Don't call me that," Marcus snapped. First crack, first real emotion, and it shook them. "You separated us," Marcus continued. "You took her out of school. You cut off her phone. You sent messages pretending to be her." My mom's face went pale. "You forced that adoption," he said. "You didn't give her a choice." My dad stood up halfway. "That's not how it happened." "It is exactly how it happened." And then Marcus dropped the one they never expected. "I know because I found her." Everything stopped, like the room forgot how to breathe. My mom whispered, "You what?" "I found her," he repeated. "Our daughter." My ears rang. Even though I already knew, hearing him say it out loud in front of them, it hit different. Stronger. "Final. That's impossible," my father said quickly. "Closed adoption means—" "There are ways," Marcus cut in, "and unlike you, I didn't give up." That line? Yeah, that one hit. Hard. My mom grabbed the edge of the table. "You're lying." Marcus didn't even respond. He just pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward them. A photo. Her. 8 years old, curly hair, bright eyes, that same smile I used to see in the mirror. My mother gasped, actually gasped, like she'd seen a ghost. "She lives in Brooklyn," Marcus said calmly. "She has a family. A good one. They raised her with love." He let that sit, let it sting. "And she knows about us." My dad sat down slowly, defeated for the first time in my life. "This ends now," my mom said suddenly, panic creeping in. "You will not contact that child again. You will not confuse that child. You will not destroy her life." I stood up. Finally. Enough. "You don't get to decide that anymore." She turned to me, furious. "I am your mother." "No," I said quietly. "You were." "That one?" "Yeah, that broke something." "If you go through with this," my father said coldly, "you're done with this family." I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear, just clarity. "Then I'm done." Silence. No yelling, no drama, just truth. Clean, sharp, final. They tried one last move. Of course they did. "If Marcus had any sense," my mother said, "he'd walk away from this mess." Marcus stood up, walked over to me, took my hand, and said, "I'm not going anywhere." Simple, but unshakable. We left right after that. No goodbye, no looking back. Just walked out. Together. The car ride home was quiet. Not heavy, not tense. Just quiet. Processing everything. "They're not going to stop," I said finally. "I know, and that's exactly why." He glanced at me. "We're not hiding anymore." That's when he told me the rest. Everything he'd been doing. Everything I didn't know. The DNA test, the match, the moment he saw her name, the investigator, the photos, the report, the family, and then the meetings. "You met her before telling me?" I asked softly. I needed to be sure. I couldn't risk breaking you if I was wrong. That made sense. It hurt a little, but it made sense. "And Elena?" He hesitated. "She wants to meet you." That one, yeah, that broke me. Completely. All the years, all the guilt, all the what-ifs. And now, she was real, close, alive, and she wanted to see me. I covered my mouth, tears falling before I could stop them. What if she hates me? She won't. What if she asks why I gave her up? Then we tell her the truth. Truth. Such a simple word, such a powerful one. And the one thing my parents spent years trying to bury. But it wasn't buried anymore. Not even close. Because what they didn't realize, what they couldn't control anymore, was this. The truth wasn't just coming out. It was walking straight toward them. And in just a few days, everything they built on lies was about to collapse. Publicly. Completely. And there would be no coming back from it. No more hiding. No more silence. Just truth. Raw, exposed, and impossible to ignore. The first time I saw her, I forgot how to breathe. It wasn't dramatic. No slow music, no perfect movie moment. Just a small living room, soft light through the window, and an 8-year-old girl standing there, looking straight at me. Curly hair, big eyes, my eyes. "Hi," she said. Just, "Hi." Like this wasn't the biggest moment of my life, like she hadn't been the missing piece of me for 8 years. "I'm Ava." Ava. Not the name I imagined, not the name I whispered in my head all those nights, but somehow it fit her perfectly. I opened my mouth to speak, and nothing came out. Nothing. 8 years of pain, regret, love, and I couldn't form a single word. Marcus squeezed my hand gently, grounding me, bringing me back. "This is Elena," he said softly. Ava looked at me for a second, tilted her head a little, then smiled. "I know." That smile? Yeah, that's the moment I broke. Not loud, not messy, just quiet tears sliding down my face. Because somehow she wasn't angry. She wasn't cold. She wasn't distant. She was just curious. "I made something," she said, suddenly excited. She ran off and came back with a scrapbook. Construction paper, glitter, messy handwriting. "I wanted you to see my life," she said, "so you don't feel like you missed everything." That line, it hit like a truck, because I did miss everything. First steps, first words, birthdays, nightmares, school plays, all of it. Gone. And she was trying to give it back to me. She flipped through the pages. "This is me when I was 3. This is my first day of school. I hate math, by the way." I laughed through tears. "Same," I whispered. Then she stopped, looked at me, really looked, and asked the question I had feared for years. "Did you not want me?" Silence. The room held its breath. I shook my head immediately. "No, no, baby." My voice cracked. "I wanted you more than anything." "Then why didn't you keep me?" And there it was. The truth. No more hiding. "Because I was scared," I said. "And because the people who were supposed to protect me," I paused, "didn't." She didn't fully understand. How could she? But she nodded slowly, like she felt the weight of it anyway. Marcus stepped in gently. "We didn't know how to find you before," he said, "but we never stopped loving you." She thought about that, then shrugged a little. "Okay." Just like that. Kids, they don't complicate things the way adults do. They just feel what's real. "Can I show you my room?" she asked. I laughed softly. "Yeah, I'd like that." Her room was bright, full of drawings, little notes taped everywhere. A life built on love. A life I wasn't part of, but could finally see. On her wall, there was a drawing, a family picture. Her parents, and 2 shadow figures in the background, unfinished. "I didn't know what you looked like," she said, "so I left it blank." Then she grabbed a marker, turned to the wall, and started drawing. Hair, eyes, smiles. "You," she said, pointing, "and you," pointing at Marcus. And just like that, we weren't shadows anymore. We left that day with a promise to come back, to build something slow, careful, real. But life? Yeah, it doesn't wait for you to feel ready, because a week later, everything blew up. The rehearsal dinner, 40 people, friends, family, colleagues, all in one room, laughing, talking, celebrating. And my parents? Yeah, they showed up. Of course they did. Dressed perfect, smiles on, like nothing ever happened, like they hadn't tried to destroy me just days before. I felt it the second they walked in, that tension, that shift in the air. Marcus leaned closer. "You ready?" I nodded. This time, I actually was. Dinner went on. Speeches, laughter, clinking glasses. Everything looked normal. but underneath, a storm, waiting. Then Marcus stood up, tapped his glass. The room quieted. "I want to say something," he began, "about Elena." My heart started racing, but I trusted him. "She's the strongest person I've ever known," he said. "She went through things most people wouldn't survive and still chose to love." I felt tears building again. "And tonight," he paused, "there's someone important I want you all to meet." The door opened, and she walked in. Ava, white dress, purple ribbon in her hair, holding the hand of the woman who raised her. The entire room went silent, like completely silent. She walked straight toward me. No hesitation, no fear, just steady. "Hi," she said again, smiling. Then she turned to the room and said, "I'm Elena and Marcus's daughter." Boom. You could feel it, the shock, the confusion, the whispers starting. Marcus stepped in, calm, clear. He told them everything. Not emotional, not messy, just truth. The separation, the pregnancy, the forced adoption, the years lost, the reunion. No drama, no exaggeration, just facts. Then Ava spoke again, and this part, nobody was ready for. She looked straight at my parents. "Are you my grandparents?" My mother froze, didn't answer, couldn't. Ava tilted her head. "Mom, Elena said I had grandparents who didn't want me. Is that you?" Dead silence. No one moved, no one spoke. And for the first time in my entire life, my mother had nothing to say. People started reacting, not quietly, not politely. "That's messed up," someone muttered. "You forced her to give up her baby?" another voice said. "That's not love," someone else added. Even people from their church, their people, started shaking their heads. My dad tried to step in. "Let's not make a scene." "Oh, we're past that," Marcus said calmly. My mom snapped. "This is inappropriate. This child shouldn't be here." And that's when I stepped forward, heart steady, voice clear. "She belongs here more than anyone." Silence again. But this time, different, stronger, because now everyone saw it, the truth, the real story, no more lies to hide behind. My mom grabbed my dad's arm. "We're leaving." She turned to me one last time. "You'll regret this." I shook my head. "No," I said quietly. "I already regretted listening to you." And just like that, they walked out. Gone. And you know what happened next? People clapped. Not for drama, not for a show, but for truth, for strength, for finally breaking something toxic. Ava looked up at me, confused. "Why are they clapping?" I smiled through tears. "Because we chose love." She thought about that, then asked softly, "Can I call you Mom, or is that weird?" That question, that one healed something in me I didn't think could ever be fixed. "I can call you whatever feels right," I said. She smiled. "Okay, Mom Elena." That was it. That was everything. The next day, we got married. Simple, beautiful, real. Ava walked down the aisle before me, holding flowers, smiling like she belonged, because she did. Marcus cried, I cried, half the guests cried, and for the first time in my life, my family didn't feel broken. It felt chosen, built, earned. We didn't replace her parents. We didn't take anything away. We just added love, more of it. Now she spends weekends with us, calls us Mom Elena and Dad Marcus, still has her life, her home, her world. And me? I finally stopped wondering what could have been, because somehow, against everything, we found our way back. Some families are given, some are taken, and some you fight like hell to rebuild. We did, and I'd do it all over again.